There are many news channels and newspapers talking about a bigger health risk which is going to happen in near future. Is such a thing is going to happen? If yes, what is it and how far this world is ready to face it? Now we'll see into the details. So here we are talking about AMR, that is antimicrobial resistance. To understand this antimicrobial resistance, I'll break this entire word into three parts, that is anti plus microbial plus resistance. Microbes are nothing but all these viruses, bacteria and fungus. And anti-microbes means will use certain medications to come out of the infections which are caused by these virus, bacteria or fungus. So these are nothing but just some medicines to combat these microbes. And resistance is like resistance of these microbes against the medicines, that is called antimicrobial resistance. And a simpler form, these microbes which won't die even with these medicines. So this is called AMR. So there will be lines of treatment for any disease. So that is called a standard line of treatment. In that first line, there'll be some medications which we will be taking, but after a certain period of time those first line of medications won't be effective. Then we may have to go for other lines of treatment, that is second line or third line. For some diseases, this second line or third line medications are not available. But why are these first line of treatment is going to the next line of treatment? If we see it, these viruses and fungus and bacteria won't die fully in the first line of treatment, and some virus or some bacteria or some fungus may get resist to these medicines, and then its next generation will be more effective than the previous one, and it will be having more resistance. To let it die, we may have to use second line of treatment or third line of treatment. So that is called antimicrobial resistance, which happen to be in these viruses or bacteria or fungus. So with these, what will happen? A disease will be there in a person's body for many days, and the expenses of the treatment may go high, and the hospitalization time will be more, and there are more chances for him to die. Now if you see the causes, why are these microbes are having this resistance? First one will be these pharma companies, they're just letting the waste out of their farms without any proper treatment. So these waste will be get into the soil, water and the environment. With this, whatever microbes in that soil or water or environment, they may get exposed to these things, and some viruses or some bacteria will get resisted to it. And then this soil, water and environment may have certain viruses or bacteria or fungus which is having that resistance. That is one cause. And second one, in poultry industry or to the buffaloes or cows or the many animals which we used to domesticate, these animals will be given certain medications. These medications will be helpful for them to grow faster. It will help them to have more milk production, and it can give more eggs. So we used to give it as a food for them. With this, all these medications will lead to certain results. The minute particles or these microbes will get resisted after being exposed to all these medications again and again. These viruses or some bacteria which are there in their body will get resisted to these kind of medicines. And when we consume them, or when we have those milk or when we have those eggs, then we will be exposed to those kind of viruses. And third reason can be, whenever a person falls sick, he or she has to take medicine from a registered medical practitioner. But in many countries, many people are going to a medical shop or pharmacy, and then they'll be having some medicines just to come out of that a little pain or a fever which they are having. In those cases, they'll be taking some antibiotics. If they're taking antibiotics, then there'll be certain course which may have to follow for a week or 10 days or 15 days, so which will be prescribed by a registered medical practitioner. But in those medical shops, there won't be such kind of practice, so they'll end up leaving that medicine by having it for a day or two, then with that, those microbes which are there in that person's body may can't die fully, and some will be there, and those will resist to it, and their next generation will have more and more resistance to these kind of medicine which may have to be used for certain days. It has to be used for those days to let those microbes fully die, and those microbes will always have the potential to mutate faster. So if we have these medications in a proper way, then that mutation process will be slowed, and these microbes can be dealt by killing them with the medications. And in this, a small note to remember is, whichever microbe is having faster pace of growth, then that microbe will be faster in mutating even. So to control this or to prevent this, what are the various strategies this world is following? To understand this, we may have to go to WHO, that is World Health Organization. So WHO and World Organization for Animal Health and Food and Agriculture Organization combinedly released a plan which is called Global Action Plan. And with this Global Action Plan, it said it like every country should have a holistic plan by including food, health, agriculture and surrounding environment in their national action plans to combat this problem. So many countries are following this, and in this, countries are having a strategy to combat this problem with their respective national plans. In that first point, they are providing mass awareness, that is what is antimicrobial resistance, how to use these medications, and how these public and the government how to cooperate in having proper knowledge, and how these farmers and industries have to clean and use certain medicines in a proper way. These things will be there in awareness program. And second option, whomsoever making laws, those laws will be made according to a place. It depends on a place that what kind of strategy a government has to follow in a particular place. So it can't be same for the entire territory of that country. This is second point. And third point, our surroundings has to be neat. With this, many microbes won't spread, or they won't mutate, or they won't grow, because if we maintain cleanliness, then those microbes won't be having any medium to grow. And fourth one, the medications has to be used in certain limits as prescribed by registered medical practitioner. For this, many countries are having many restrictions on many drugs. So some drugs will be regulated by only few pharmacies, and those drugs won't be available without a letter from a medical practitioner. And some will be having certain borders, like some tablets are having red borders saying that it is a risky drug and it has to be sold with a registered medical practitioner, and pharmacist has to maintain a register for some years, and that pharmacist should have a prescription from the doctor. All these things will be followed in it, and many countries are following this thing. Fifth one, to have medicines to combat mutated forms of microbes, many have to go for research and innovation. Many firms or many governments have to go for research and innovation, and they should be ready by having the medications to combat these mutated forms. And the sixth one, country should have international collaborations on these issues. If they are having better practices or better medicines or second or third line of treatments, then those treatments have to be available to the other country. This can happen only with a collaboration. So this is sixth one. And at last, if we see the entire picture of antimicrobial resistance, this can be handled by proper way of care, which is in our hands. We have to take care of ourselves, and we can't think of some research and innovation will happen and it will take care of ourselves. No, because many research institutions are saying like, to have a medicine, a company has to invest some crores of money in it, and to spend that much money and to market that particular product, it needs to predict the future, and it will price accordingly for some years. And in these kind of medicines, that particular microbe may mutate further, and that particular drug can't be used anymore, maybe after a year or so, and that particular firm will be at losses. So it can't be a fair business. So a government has to invest and a government has to look in this thing. And these days governments are more interested in letting people out of poverty, unemployment, and taking them towards development. So government investments in these antimicrobial resistance products or medicines is nowhere in a near future. So you guys have to take care of yourselves by following the things which I mentioned earlier, like in the causes or different measures given by WHO or the respective national governments. Thank you.